Sipping on my cup, got my photo. Sipping on my cup, got my photo. You know she love the camera. Snapping the picture the way she be moving, I love the camera.
Hey everyone, today we are at the Unifarm Web3 meetup and I am right now with Mr. Mohit Madan, who is the founder of Unifarm. So it's a really great meetup, like your team and you put up a great effort for arranging this meetup, and it was really great. So my first question to you would be what is Unifarm and what it exactly does?
So first of all, I would like to thank my entire team for organizing this meetup. This was really a good meetup, and all of them had put in a lot of efforts for a lot of weeks for just these 3 years. What goes behind the scenes took us a lot of weeks, right? A lot of efforts. So really glad to be working with such a solid team. Now, Unifarm started with a very simple problem statement. What happened was, when we were working on a different project, during the building phase for any project that raises capital in tokens, there is no real utility of the token because the project is still being built, right? So what happens is that the token price keeps on falling because there is no real utility. So we got on a call with some of the founder friends. We spoke with Sandeep from Matic, Denko from Brief, Frontier, say we spoke with Ravindra and a couple of other guys that, how are you handling this problem? And to our amazement, they were facing the same problem. So what we thought was, let's come together and jointly solve this problem. So that is when on 3rd of February last year, 5 projects got together and created the first fund. At that point of time, we didn't think that it would be a new product. It was just an experiment. And as soon as the product launched, it just simply caught on fire. Within 3 hours, the funds were completely filled, and we were bombarded with requests from investors, from projects, from users. Users were asking for more cohorts, projects wanted to get in those cohorts, and investors were just throwing free money at us. Right? So that's when we knew that we had found product market fit at just in the 3-hour moment. Right? So that was very magical, and since then we've run 37 cohorts. Now we are available on Ethereum, Polygon, Binance Smart Chain, and Avalanche, and soon we'll be adding Solana as well.
Wow, so like you talked about a rush of investors coming after you and other people, so in those kind of scenarios, how do you scale your project? How do you make sure that it doesn't break?
Right. So I think at that point of time there was no project to begin with. It was an experiment. So that gave us the liberty to try out various things. At that point of time our team size was 12. So we had to aggressively hire. Now we are a 58-member team in 1 year, grown by more than 4x. And we had to aggressively hire. We had to make sure that the people who are coming on board have the same energy, right? Because see, when you have found product market fit, then you can't do anything else. That's the only thing you can do, right? Because सुबह से लेकर रात तक you're bombarded from users that they have this problem, that problem, they want this feature, that feature. So we found such good team members, and they got momentum immediately as they joined in, right? So scaling became slightly easy. At the same time, as the team grows, a lot of processes have to change, right, to adopt to the team size that has increased. So there are several of our investors, as well as our chief advisor Paresh Madani. He helped us a lot, and he actually groomed both Tarusha and I, we are the 2 co-founders, groomed us personally to make sure this journey is not complicated for us.
Right. So I get this is a usual question among Web2 startups and Web3 startups also. How do you find the perfect co-founder? What are the traits that you look for?
Actually, that's a very, very difficult question to answer, to be honest. Tarusha and I have known each other since we were 7 years old. We studied in the same school, and we've been working together for the last 11 years, and this is my 4th startup with her. To be completely honest, I just handle the tech part of it, which is 5% of the company. Remaining 95% of its operations is handled by her. And I've been blessed to have such an amazing co-founder with me. I don't know how to ever find another co-founder, right? Because it's not just that we complete each other's sentences, we question each other on every front, right? If one comes up with the idea, the other questions, and then we try to find the best solution that is available. That kind of understanding, comfort, and on top of that, respect that is existing between the 2 people. I have no idea how people are able to, find it otherwise. So, which is why, for the last 11 years, this has been a 2 co-founder led team, right? We don't have a third one, because that kind of a trust, it takes a lot of, time to build.
Right. So yeah, I read this quote by Nawaz Ravikant. So he says that build long-term relationship, do long-term things. So basically with long-term people. So you find the long-term people. Like, so like for the viewers, I would just like to say that Sir is being humble when he's saying that tech is just 5% of the Web3 startup. Like it's not. So how, like what are the problems that you face by building the technology, and like what obstacles for
the biggest obstacle in Web3 is that when you deploy something, it cannot be redeployed. So even if you have to modify a small line of code, right, you have to redo the entire thing from scratch. Now let's say if I create a smart contract and $1 million is logged in it, and it has that one code that is missing, one line is missing. So not just do I have to redeploy the entire thing again, I need to figure out a way how to get funds out of the first one, right? So because things cannot be edited on blockchain, that is both an advantage as well as in tech execution a very big disadvantage. Second is when you're building things for 100 people and when you're building things for 100,000 people, the tech architectures are very different.
Sure.
Right? Initially when we were running an experiment, we had only targeted 500 users, right? So that tech was very limiting here. Now when we are now standing at 57,000 users, now when we are thinking of anything new that comes into the picture, we always keep scaling in mind. Right? Which is why we have a good 99% plus uptime, right? So that takes a lot of bandwidth, that takes a lot of time in planning before you even start to write the first line of code, right? So yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so you talked about scalability. So like how do you stress test your applications?
In three ways. First is, of course, we have our internal QA team that tests everything that goes out, right? Led by the product manager. Second is we have an early adopter set, which we call pioneers. These are a group of 20 of our most active users. So anything that we push out to them first. And only then does it hit the market. And the third thing is that we conduct hackathons every 3 months. Right? So what happens is about 100 to 200 hackers every 3 months try to get into our system. So we have done most recently with the test drive, right? Where I think about 180 hackers tried to get into our system.
Wow.
And of course they couldn't, but they suggested us a lot of UI upgrades that we could do, right? So that gave us that opportunity to improve. And of course meetups like these help a lot because like right now on a live staking platform, 40 plus people staked, right? And they reached out to us after the event telling us about, maybe this could be this, maybe if you could change the color of this, this one would be more prominent. So those are very important. If you're listening to your user, I think that's the most important part.
So like the first question, like when is the next hackathon?
Probably at the end of August.
So I will definitely paste the link in the description, so make sure to check that out. And what I have seen continuously around Web3 is that all the projects like focus on their community, right? So like one question that comes to my mind, like what if you have the community? So what after that? What are the like don'ts that as a startup, Web3 startup founder that you should not do? Like everyone talks about you should do, but what you should definitely not do as a Web3 founder, even if you have the community.
Okay, so first of all, how we are defining community in this sense of the word is very important. For us, the community is not the people that are joining our Telegram group. Our community are the people who are actually using the product, right? Because most of the people want to come in and talk about, when will you get on Binance, or when will you Moon, or when Lamborghini, right? Things like that. Those are not of any product value to us, right? And I'm a very product-driven person. The thing that you should definitely not be doing with your community is not giving them early access. Because the moment you keep them out of the product now, then they would never be involved in that journey. They need to feel the pain in case something is going down. They need to provide you support. They need to believe that it's their product. And you can only do that if you're enabling them. See, these 20 set of people who are our pioneers, they've become pioneers because, they've loved our product. And, they've provided us so much feedback that they provided us the feature requests that we could never think of, right? For example, right now, when you stake on our platform, your staking converts into an NFT, which you can sell on any marketplace, and soon you'll also be able to get a loan against it, right? This feature we didn't think of. This is coming from the community itself.
Right.
So, if you're not engaging with them, then you are actually losing out on something very critical. Funding alag hai, team alag hai, sab alag hai. Your users are your god.
So like, would you say that it's like way better to build a product for a niche market than to to make a product for a large market?
Of course, and in fact, जितना आप niche को define कर सकते हो, it will be better. So you start off with, for example, 1,000,000 users. That's not my niche. Come down to 100,000, come down to 10,000, come down to 1,000, right? And if you can further break that 1,000, that's even better. Whether it's on demography, whether it's on geography, whether it's on target group, whatever it might be. But make your first product for as few people as possible, because that gives you an understanding on how your product is being taken by the audience. If you make something for 1,000,000 people, of course they have different requirements, right?
Yeah.
And we don't want that. We want it for a very niche product, very niche people, and then expand from it. So which is why when we first experimented this was only made for 500 people, right? And now of course we are scaling it to, we have more than 57,000 right now. Soon we'll be able to scale to 100,000.
Wow. So like you were a Web 2 developer, what tips would you give to the beginner tech people that want to come into Web3? Like what resources they should follow? Like should there be any structure to their learning? Like what are the steps they should take to get into this Web3 space?
First is hack anything that you can get your hands on. If there is already a product existing in the market, just go through it like crazy. Like for example, Uniswap is open source, right? So you can just go on, GitHub, download the code, and just break it apart. Try to make it as better as you can. And for content or for books, the books that I had initially taken up that helped me was Mastering Bitcoin, and of course now Mastering Ethereum as well. Both are very nice. Andrew Antonopoulos.
Right.
And of course there's a lot ample content out there, right? I would also recommend you to join a startup as soon as you can, right? Because see, even if you're not joining them as a developer, even if you're doing an internship for them, or even if you're part of their community where you're actively involved with the developers, you get to learn a lot. And that is something that you would not be taught in schools or in colleges. That hands-on knowledge on how you can build and scale a product is very critical.
Right. So, what features are you now building at Uniswap, and what lies down the road ahead for you?
Unifarm. So at Unifarm, at Unifarm we're working on various kinds of features. Right now we've just launched our V2 version where users are getting rewards on a per block basis now. And as I said earlier, that now their staking position is an NFT, and they can sell that on OpenSea. They can buy booster packs to increase their APY. So this is something that is already live right now.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can you explain APY for our beginner audience?
Sure. So APY basically means, let's say if you're investing 100 rupees, then how much money more can you expect on it? So if the APY is 40%, that means in a year, if I put 100 rupees in Unifarm, I get 140 after a year, right? So that's the yield that you're able to generate. Right now on our platform, the minimum that yield that is offered is 36%. It can go as high as 400%, right? And thousands of users have been actually making use of this. Other thing, the additional features that are getting launched. So right now we've just launched liquidity farming as well. We are now looking at launching a staking bridge, and there are going to be a lot of unique features in it. We're also working on filing a patent for a unique kind of a stable coin, which will be stable to itself, not to US dollars or INR. Seeing that the market sentiment around USD was very pessimistic in nature, because it was ultimately a Ponzi scheme, turned out to be a Ponzi scheme. So in collaboration with IIT Delhi, we are working on this paper and hope to file this paper sometime in August. So by September at least we should be able to get more details, and we should be able to release the public paper for it.
Right. So it would be available for the public to read and
Correct. Once the patent has been filed, yeah.
Right. So a question that comes to my mind is wouldn't patenting the paper would be against the open source nature of the Web3 space and the decentralized?
Of course. See, the idea here is not to protect the IP so that others can't use it. The idea here is that whatever we are building, it's unique in nature. The moment we are granted the patent, see, as it is, our entire engine is open source. And it will continue to remain open source. Even when this stablecoin is published and we are able to build it and code it, even that will be open source. But we'd still like to, for the enterprise part of it, hold on to that IP, right? Much like we've seen in Tesla. Tesla has open sourced all the IPs, the trademarks, the patents that they have, right? But they're still the owners of it, right? That's the right that we want to maintain, because that's our entry mode. Right? So whenever any startup tries to execute on something, right, you need to have an entry mode, so that entry barriers, so that others can't just simply replicate you. right? If they are copying your code, they have to give you at least the credit for it, right? So a lot of Web3 products, and for that matter, even Web2 products, if we talk about Netscape, the first browser that was created,
Right.
while it was made open source, it still had the patents were still held by,
Open source licenses.
correct, and ultimately shifted there, right? OS systems. So that's our idea, right? To protect the IP, at the same time make it open source and available to anyone that wants to use.
Sure. So this is for like my beginner audience, like that. So like, what kind of shortage of like people that you face at like building Unifarm? Like, what kind of people are you looking for?
Right now, we are hiring across board. As I mentioned, we have a 58-member team in 7 different countries. Whether you are a tech talent, whether you are good with partnerships, whether you are good with a sales part of it, or PR, or social media, or content, just reach out to our platform. Go on careers.unifarm.co.
Sure.
We have a lot of positions opening there. By the end of this year, we expect at least to be a 100-member team, and because again, product market fit exists, so we need to exponentially grow, and which is why we are hiring rigorously.
Yeah. So like you have built you have scaled a project. So what are the things that you see in projects that will not scale? Like, what are the red flags?
Okay. See, first, when you're building a product, you are building it for not scaling. The first version of it, at least, because you're just running a test.
Right.
But when you're actually building a product for scale, some of the red flags that can be, one is you're not testing it enough, right? Whether it's within the team or outside the team. Second is you are making a product that nobody wants to use, right? So if I make, for example, a new layer 1 chain, right? It will be a ghost chain. It wouldn't have any developers, it wouldn't have any users, right? And so it's important to listen to your audience and only then build something and then be able to scale it. Third is if you're not following the proper tech architecture of it. If you're doing an agile one, then sprint cycles should always be maintained such that the designers are at least 2 sprints ahead of the developers, so that there is ample time and breathing space for both the parties to work individually. So I think a good cycle for your development needs to be in place, especially for scaling products. Fourth is security is paramount, especially in the Web3 space, right? If something gets hacked, millions of dollars get lost, right? So making sure that your security is vetted by other CTOs as well, right? So like for example, I on a weekly basis reach out to several of my CTO friends, right? And they reach out to me as well if they are working on any architecture. And just out of good faith, we share feedback with one another. Because at times, if you build something, right, it's your idea, so you love it. You won't be able to find flaws in it, but others giving it a different view might be able to find those flaws.
So like you highlighted a very good quality of Web3, like collaboration, not competition.
Correct.
Yeah. So like it was nice talking to you, and all the best for Unifarm and other things, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for this experience and pragmatic idea.
I will paste the link to the hackathon and other things in the description. Make sure to check it out. Thank you.
See.
I want you and only you. I got nothing left to